Coming up in this video, we discover an untouched boiler room from the 1960s. It is like a time capsule. This is unbelievably rare because there's nowhere to preserve spoilers and boilers get replaced regularly. So to find an original boiler room with all of the original equipment is just wow. This is Ernie Goldfinger's Trellick Tower, which is very similar to Balfron, and it's time to go urban exploring. This tower is a design classic. It's an epic brutalist structure, and it's effectively two different towers, the lifts tower and the flats tower, and it's a bridge from a lifts tower to a flats tower every 3 floors. So every 3 floors is a corridor level with the corridor to the flats. Then you have flats on the floor and the floor above, and on the floor and the floor below. It is a design classic. It's an epic bit of architecture, and only Trellick, Balfron and a couple of other buildings around Balfron are the only buildings ever to be built to this design. It is so interesting. And also Trellick has a different layout to the plant room levels than Balfron, and also plant room's bigger on Trellick. Let's just take a look at this plant room area. Doesn't that look epic? It looks like a viewpoint, but it's not a viewpoint. It's actually just the boiler room, and so few people actually get to go up there, but we managed to get up there. In fact, I've been trying to do this urban explore of Trellick for a very long time. This is like my 6th or 7th attempt, but finally we can now do this urban explore. So let's get this video started by going into the tower, and oh dear, the very strict concierge. This concierge, unlike most places, actually is onto you straight away. He watches you on the camera going in the lifts, and when you get out of the lift, he actually watches to make sure you go along a corridor and into a flat. And if you don't, if you're like going to the staircase, he comes after you straight away. But luckily, this time, this concierge, even though he's really onto you, he still has to poo and wee. And luckily, either he was going to the toilet or he was doing a walk around when we came in, which means he wasn't watching a camera. So we go up to the top of Trellick Tower. Before we go to all the secret floors, let's just take a look at this epic architecture. Here we go across one of the epic bridges, a design classic, and along to where the flats are. Just look at the design and effort put into his tower. It's such epic architecture, unique to Ernie Goldfinger. Now time to start the urban exploring. Let's take a look at the outside. Now, just like Balfron, in the lifts tower, lifts stop every 3 floors. If you look up in the lifts area, the ceiling is not 3 floors high. In fact, it's 1.5 floors high. That's because there's secret floors between every 3 floors. So these floors are effectively floors 4.5, 7.5, 10.5, and so on. And also Trellick has 2 layers higher than Balfron. Balfron only went up to 24. Trellick goes all the way up to floor 30. Trellick is taller, which is always better. So up we go to floor 30. Let's walk down the stairs and take a look at every single one of the secret floors. Firstly, floor 28.5. What is on this floor? To unlock a door is risky, because if the concierge came down, if he catches us in the staircase, it doesn't really matter, concierge will just chuck us out. But if he catches us with the actual door open to one of the secret floors, that would be bad. But luckily, we haven't drawn attention, although he does do a walk round every hour. Let's just hope we don't run into him. So, floor 28.5, which is a mobile communications room. Wow, this mobile communications room was easy to get into. Usually I have ultra secure custom locks for these sort of rooms. Oh, this is very interesting. Look at all of this equipment they've got in here.
Servers. Patching up the backs.
So down the stairs we go to floor 25.5. And this room is also a mobile communications room. There's loads of equipment here. This is very, very interesting. So now we go down to floor 22.5. Let's open it up, and it's an empty floor. There's nothing on this floor. That was unexpected. So now down to floor 19.5, which is a water tank room. Why is it water tanks always look really creepy? Now down to floor 16.5. And the door on this floor seems to be jammed shut. There's an additional padlock which seems to not be holding the door, but at the same time the door doesn't open, so maybe it is double locked. Now to floor 13.5. Which is another water tank room. Now to floor 10.5. And on this floor is part of the boiler room equipment, which we'll see more of this boiler room equipment up in the boiler room later on. Now to floor 7.5, which sadly has a custom padlock. Now to floor 4.5, which has some big water pumps in it. So then, down past floor 3, and there isn't a floor 1.5, but it is a floor 2. Floor 2 is a community room for the residents of Trellick Tower. There's only one of these community floors, and it's actually still in use, which is a very nice feature. Oh, this is nice. I did not know this was up here. Balfour used to have these, but they got rid of them, and then these floors on Balfour are now deceiver floors. It looks like Trellick still has their communal rooms on one of the halfway floors. Very interesting. Very nice, actually. Was not expecting that. So then we now go back up to the top of Trellick Tower, back up at floor 30. So back to the staircase, and let's now go up to the plant room levels, but it's got custom key. I don't believe it. They've actually changed it to a custom lock. That's a bad sign. It looks like these locks might be getting a bit too well known. I hope not too many people have the keys for these locks, because if they do, then the councils will change the locks, which will be very bad. Unlike Balfour, that had loads and loads of security doors to get through, and one of the doors had magnet lock, which had to be opened remotely by the council. At Trellick, is this the one door, but it's custom locks. Now, I was really nervous about going up, because I was just convinced there'd be loads of alarms up in the plant room. I was actually really nervous, because I didn't want to get caught by a concierge actually in the plant room, because he'd want to know how I got up there. But later on in the video, it turns out it wasn't any alarms up there, but we actually come on to getting into the plant room later on. This is the lift lobby area. Sadly, we cannot get up to the roof because that door is actually custom, which is so piss annoying. Concierge is watching all the time. Apart from our luck, we got in while he was on patrol, so we managed to get in without being caught. Another time, I got up to this floor, went through there, started going down the staircase to look at interesting stuff on the staircase, and the concierge actually came up because he monitors that camera and he knows, he watches you come out of the lift, and if you don't head that way, if you head that way, he will come after. Now we go across back into the flattest tower, along to the 5 exit staircase at the other end of the flattest tower, because it's following the same layout of Balfour. So we failed at managing to get in the plant room of the lifts tower. Can we get on the roof of the flattest tower, which is on a separate staircase, because it's like a separate part of the tower? And it turns out, as well as the plant room tower, the flattest tower also has a custom lock to get on the roof. And it was at this point the concierge noticed us. Yeah, we noticed the camera turning, and the concierge was watching us going around the building, and he wasn't happy. And when he caught us, he was incredibly aggressive and rude.
No, there isn't. No, there isn't. There isn't any need for bad language. No, have we vandalised anything? Have we done anything? We'll leave, but there's no need for that.
So, we're now out of the tower. Does this mean that this Urban Explorer's going to be a fail? Well, no, it isn't, because what's that they've got around Trellick Tower? Is that scaffolding? What a perfect opportunity to get up to the roofs and plant rooms of this tower. We can climb the scaffolding. Now, none of the windows open far enough actually in Trellick Tower to climb out the window. So that means we're going to have to climb up the entire thing. This is going to take longer, be more effort of just climbing up a ladder up a crane, because on this scaffolding, every couple of meters you have to get off the ladder, go across the scaffolding, along to the next ladder, and it's going to take ages. So it's now night time. Let's get climbing the scaffolding. So we managed to find a way up. To start with, the ladders were a bit intermittent to get up the scaffolding, and we had to walk past people's windows. And this scaffolding is very hard to be quiet on. It makes a lot of noise. We were very lucky no one actually looked out a window and caught us. But once we got up a couple of layers, we then went along to where the lifts tower is, and found some ladders there to go, which means that no one would hear us because we're not next to any flats here. So let's get climbing. Took us over half an hour to climb it. So here halfway up the scaffolding. And now, before we go any further up, there's this one thing which I've just got to do. Let's take a look at the bridges. This is a one-off opportunity to actually get a really close look at these bridges, because these bridges are really unique, linking the lifts tower to the flats tower. And here I am, sitting on one of the bridges. A one-off opportunity which I'll never get again. Just relaxing, sitting on one of the Trellick Tower classic Ernie Goldfinger bridges. So then, let's count up the scaffolding. It actually took us in total over half an hour to climb the scaffolding, and here I'm getting close to the top. We've gone past the 30th floor, which means we're up at the plant room levels now. But before we go up the plant rooms of the lifts tower, let's go across to the roof of the flats tower, which isn't as high as the lifts tower. And here I am on the roof. And now let's walk across to the fire exit staircase of the flats tower. And we managed to get in the fire staircase. We walk down the staircase. Yes, that is satisfying. We're now on the other side of that annoying door which we could not get open. Screw you, custom lock on that door. We managed to get past you. And if you remember from Balfron, there's a tiny little area just above the staircase on the flats tower. Trellick also has this, so let's go up the ladder to this area. So then we now go back on the roof of the flats tower. And across back on the scaffolding to go up to the plant rooms of the lifts tower. And we've now come up to those big windows around the boiler room. And if we look inside, look at that boiler room. Those boilers are original from the 1960s. Now, when you think of an old lift as being like rare, old boilers are many times rarer than old lifts, simply because no one has the space to preserve old boilers. There's nowhere I know of in the entire world that preserves old boilers. And boilers get replaced regularly, which means there are very, very few old boilers about. So the fact they've got a completely untouched 1960s boiler room, that is just unbelievably rare. So we carry on climbing up the scaffolding. Will we be able to get into the plant room of the lifts tower? And we find a door. Yes, we've managed to get into the plant rooms of the lifts tower. So we go down the staircase. Down to that security door which had custom key, and yes, screw you custom lock, we've managed to get up into the plant room levels of the lifts tower at Trellick Tower. Oh, that is so good. And turns out there's no PIRs or alarms up here. I actually thought there would be, considering how strict security is here. So then let's take a look at what's on these secret floors. In Trellick Tower, there's actually 4 levels of secret plant room level, then the roof level. That's actually more floors than in Balfron. Let's go up to the top and work our way downwards. The top secret plant room level is a water tank level. This is the upper Trellick water tank room.
Don't let the door shut.
So down to the next plant room level below, which is the motor room. Yes, Trellick Tower motor room. Sadly though, the lifts have been replaced, but it's still an epic motor room. The whole look to this room looks so classic and old. Oh yes, this motor room looks so good. Sadly though, logic's all replaced. They're now just Thames Valleys. That's boring. Motors are modern gearless motors, not that interesting. But nevertheless, it's so epic that we got into Trellick Tower motoring. So carry on down, and the next 2 levels of plant room are the best bit, the boiler room. And it turns out these old boilers are abandoned. That is so weird, they never replaced the boilers because they must have changed it to individual boilers in each flat or something. That's not very good. But that means the 2 levels of boiler room in Trellick Tower have been untouched since the 1960s. Just look at this. It's got all this old equipment lying about. It's got all these old switches to control the boilers. There's nowhere else quite like this. And just looking around this boiler room, the whole thing is like going back in time. It's just a time capsule of what things used to be like a very, very long time ago. I still can't believe this. This boiler room is so good. Everything looks so 60s. Like these stairs, oh, those look so industrial and 60s. Then there's all the switches. Then there's these doors over here. Oh, those definitely look 60s. There's a little ladder around the back to go between the 2 floors as well as the stairs. This is just amazing. These boilers are so big and they're all just abandoned. Oh wow, it'd be so amazing to see this all working. These have not been used in a very long time. There's so much to see here. Everywhere you look is epic old 60s equipment. This is just amazing. And that's pretty much the end of the video. So just finish this video off. We're just going to carry on appreciating these epic boilers.
Good, I'll do that.